Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council. Thanks so much for inviting me and the Scottish Family Party to contribute to your hustings. Apologies we weren't able to meet in person, but I'm really glad to be able to give you this opportunity to just hear from us, and I'm happy to answer your questions. So who am I, and who do I represent? So my name is Gareth Kirk. I work in banking. I work for a large bank as a data engineer, as well as data visualization and MI, management information. So effectively, I work with computers, do programming, and use financial data for funds and all sorts of things. So it's lots of fun. Originally, I am South African, so as you can hear the accent, not exactly Scottish. However, I am of Scottish descent, so my claim to fame is the fact, or my claim is, I'm returning home to my native land. So yes, love Scotland. Been here with my wife and kids for 18 years. Well, I've been here for 18 years. My wife and kids for less. So yeah, really. And the reason for standing in this election and for the Scottish Family Party is actually because I certainly care about the next generation. I was concerned for my kids, concerned for their schooling, concerned for the environment, seeing what's going on, realizing things aren't getting better, but actually, and knowing that I wanted to do something about it. So hence I got involved, became a member of the Scottish Family Party. That's how I got involved. Next question was, what ice cream would you is my favorite? So what ice cream would I have? So my favorite would be vanilla with a twist. So I take vanilla ice cream, your standard vanilla ice cream. Kelly's clotted cream is my favorite, so thick ice cream, and I mix it with chocolate, and I pour in hot chocolate or strawberry, whichever one you want. So sometimes I do one or the other. So like a chocolate powder or a strawberry powder, and then I mix it up into a gloopy paste, and then I can play with it and make funny shapes, and that's my favorite. So I really enjoy that. And you know what? It's quite interesting. Life can be a bit like, my daughter likes just plain vanilla. Life can be like vanilla ice cream. I heard this great analogy. You can almost take it for granted. It becomes a bit boring. Just plain vanilla. But take away the vanilla, and what are you left with? And it's actually, you'll realize how much you enjoy vanilla compared to nothing, like just bland ice cream. And people can look at things, look at the way life is now, and just be like, oh, so bland, like. And if you think about what's in there, for the Scottish Family Party, it's like marriage, families, freedom of religion, freedom of speech. These things that are just like there, we take them for granted. Look at the world where these things aren't the case, where there's no freedom of religion and no freedom of speech, and you'll soon realize how much you appreciate the current vanilla ice cream we have. So Scotland has so much good stuff. It is so good. It is a great place. Yes, it has problems, but we can address those problems and move forward. So I believe the Scottish Family Party are looking at the vanilla of the ice cream, the base vanilla, the thing that makes all the other vanilla ice creams, all other ice creams work, and we want to address those things, strengthen those things, and be like, strengthen the family, strengthen the basic social economics of this world of Scotland, and we can strengthen those things through basic principles and focusing on the family first. We don't want to dilute that, and I think that's been happening over particularly the last SNP led government. They've diluted those things that are very, very valuable. So our manifesto, moving specifically in 45 seconds, a bit of a challenge, but I'll sum it up in our slogan, which is pro-marriage, pro-family, pro-life. So we're standing for life as well. And pro-marriage, what that means is we're thinking about keeping mums and dads together, like letting mums and dads get together, making that easier. Right now can be quite a challenge. Pro-family, so this is about choosing to have a family. If you want to have a family, making that doable and possible, viable, which is sometimes really challenging right now. So to have as many kids as you want, to have 4 kids, it's really challenging. We would do things like addressing council tax, looking at the family unit as entire tax. So if one person earns 50,000 or 60,000 and the other person earns nothing, that person doesn't, we don't think that person needs to pay higher tax. It needs to be looked at the family unit. So we want to enable that. Let people who want to be able to do that can do that. Right now, that's not even possible. So, and pro-life. So we value every life, and I think that's really important to us. Hopefully that's 45 seconds, but yeah, the next question is, what would you do to help schools and further education, or schools and higher education? So this is a huge area for us. Richard Lucas, the leader of the party, was a teacher and is super keen to come in and bring the right policies and the right things to help actually make, first of all, education needs to be a safe place. Right now, it does not feel like, in some schools, it feels like quite a hostile place. People come out of school with anxiety. They're stressed about the environment. There's violence going on in schools, and there also like there's a lack of hope. Like, what's going to happen afterwards? And, what's happening with the global economics and all that kind of thing. That education needs to address exactly that. So we want to help people who, for example, focusing on the standards, focusing on improving the standards, putting in good discipline, ensuring there's parental involvement. Teachers are based on evidence-based education, so stuff that's based on information, getting rid of some of the getting rid of some of the politics that is currently in schools. That's unnecessary. Yeah, so we think first of all, making schools a safe, healthy place where you can actually learn what you need for the high school and in the early school, so you learn how to learn, and then the higher school, you should have the ability to identify where you want to fit in life, what you want to do, and dream, and then after that, you should know how to apply that. And in fact, I was asked to talk at our school here in Bigger, where I live. And I came up and in summary, I showed them three superheroes: Batman, Superman, and Iron Man. And I said, which one's the odd one out? And there was a big debate going on between Marvel and whatnot. And eventually I ended up by saying, well, actually, do you know what? Superman was the only person born with his abilities. Batman and Iron Man used their imagination. And I described how I came from from a schooling where I'm dyslexic, so I failed through school all the time. Like I felt like a complete failure. I barely managed to pass my exams. Everyone else was doing a lot better, and actually it was because of the dyslexia. With it, we found that out later, but that could have been it. But when I went to high school, and I managed to do a programming, software development, and that doesn't require words in the same way. It requires patterns. And I really excelled in computer programming. And so I really think that I was able to do a lot more because I found a niche through it, and I succeeded in that thing and did really well. And that's where I am today. Albert Einstein, arguably one of the greatest scientists of our time, shared this quote: imagination, and he summed up in this point, like, knowledge is good and powerful, but it only tells you what's already been known. Imagination is far more valuable because it will tell you everything that there is to know, everything that there is to discover, and to innovate, and that is much more valuable. The problems that you face today aren't going to be solved because the things of today aren't going to solve that problem. You need an imagination to find the solutions for tomorrow's problems. And I use imagination in my work all the time. I'm one of the strongest developers there is, and the reason is I can overcome any challenge when it comes to software and software development and all the rest because of my imagination. I just keep attacking it. I never run out of ideas of a way of solving this problem. Never run out, and eventually I do. So I want to just encourage you, and that you may feel maybe school isn't working for you, and you may feel like a failure because of the challenges that you face. But actually, do you know what? Maybe you're really brilliant at something, and it's not in school. It's something outside school. So keep going and find that thing. So that's what I would do for school and education. I would enable people to find their talents, find their dreams, dream big, and then learn how to apply those in work and after work and find solutions. So there are a lot of problems coming, but that means and those problems need solutions, and that's where you come in for the next generation. So that is the message we want to give, and I think the Scottish Family Party are the right party to, with the right policies, to enable that. How's your party going to improve transport? Now, I'm aware there's a transport thing. I think there are two things that addressed here. There wasn't enough critical challenge. I think very specifically about what happened in August, there was a dispute about policy, as far as I understand, and I don't know the specifics of it. I'm just going to take a guess of an example here where somebody had a standard clause on insurance saying, like, you'll provide the service for the next 5 years. And somebody said, well, and then Stagecoach were like, well, we can't guarantee the next 5 years, so no, I'm not going to take that out here. We can't do that thing. And that's because of the environment that Dumfries is in, and Dumfries is not the only one. Scotland has the lowest birth rate that it's ever had before, and it's 1.23 or 22. It's probably lower now. And what that means is you're in population decline, and what that means is rural communities are the first ones to feel it, where all of a sudden children are gone because everyone's migrated to where their jobs, and where those jobs are in bigger cities. And so the more, like, Biggar is going to, when Biggar nearly lost its bus service, same time, same reason, it was a huge thing. And that means kids weren't able to get to school. That was a huge thing. So I think this standard wording clause that was applied there, I think we could have thought a little bit more critical, could ask the question, is this clause still applicable in today's terms? And I think not. I think we could have, I think there could have been a little more critical thinking and saying, well, hang on, let's find a way to, let's use that imagination and find a way to actually make it a win-win situation. And I think that could have been done. But I think because of policy and some people saying this is the way it always used to be done or should be done, so I would bring that critical thinking into that environment. I would also make sure that the families are first. We need to protect families. You cannot say kids can't get to school. You cannot say kids can't get to the nearest job or find that opportunity or work. That is what the country does. It provides that infrastructure for families to succeed. It is the foundation of every society. It's families. So the next thing, and the last, why should you vote on the 7th? So I'll use another analogy, and this is a business analogy for business politics, but I thought it's really applicable here. It talks about this idea of your vote or your say being like the seat in a big table, in a round table. Think about people in a round table. And at this table, you have two types of people. There are only two. You have wise owls and you have clever, sly fox. And the wise owl is the person who's looking at policies and things and making decisions that help everybody. And a sly fox is somebody who's looking at making policies and decisions that benefit them. And if you don't vote, what you're doing is you're allowing the sly fox to outnumber the wise owls. So what I would say to you is you need to vote on the 7th. Because it is therefore a wise owl. You are using that seat and saying, I choose this person who's got the right policies to make sure that sly foxes, people who have agendas to do certain things that benefit just them, are actually outnumbered by the people, the majority, who have a majority concern for everybody. And so I would say that is the reason why you need to use your vote on the 7th, is be a wise owl. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening to this video. Yeah, hopefully we'll get to meet you at the next Hustings next time. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.